If you're looking to work on your flexibility, but you do not have a lot of time or energy to allocate, do not worry about it. Today we'll be looking at 3 peak efficiency flexibility exercises that will basically take care of almost all of your flexibility needs, and if taken to their final form, to their absolute limit, will help you pretty much cover your entire body. So if you're ready, let's go and have some fun. Now, the pigeon pose is by far one of the most effective lower body flexibility exercises. However, almost nobody uses it to its full potential. And before I can show you how to do that, we need to be able to get into this position. So your very first level and the very first thing you should be working on is being able to move into this complete external rotation in our hip in a standing position, which makes this a lot easier and puts far less pressure on the joint and on the muscles, and over time, elevating your leg further and further until you are at hip height. Our second level will be pushing our hips down towards the floor, lengthening our anterior chain on one side and opening up our hips and moving into external hip rotation. Over time, your next level, focusing on the glute flexibility and the hip mobility, we will move down onto our elbows, and for the next level, we will start flattening our upper body more and more, maximizing the stretch we can have on one side. And once you're here, you have enough flexibility in your hips to start working on this dynamically, and this is where we move from flexibility to mobility. While flexibility is just your ability to lengthen a muscle, mobility is your ability to take a joint through an ever-increasing range of motion that includes strength as well as coordination and flexibility all in one. Upper body fully upright, maximizing the anterior chain stretch on one side, and then slowly moving down with our upper body, maximizing the posterior chain stretch on the other side, and then reversing this movement, adding a lot of strength to our entire posterior chain. Now we're combining strength with flexibility, moving forward, folding forward all the way, and then reversing upper body upright and pushing our hips down towards the floor. And this brings us full circle. Now we're going to combine internal rotation here with external rotation just to prep us for the next exercise. This is going to require a lot of strength in our adductors and is going to open up our glutes and our hamstrings even more. And with the next level, this is going to become so much more effective. We're going to move into this internal rotation and move into extension with both legs. And now carefully, slowly, in a controlled fashion, move forward and bring that leg down into external rotation once more before you extend and reverse. You can even help yourself out with your hands, and over time you should have developed the necessary strength, control and flexibility to lower down like so and to extend like so. Trust me, if you can go through this progression for both legs, you will see some amazing benefits for your overall hip health and hip mobility when it comes to strength and flexibility, and most importantly, coordination, one of the things that most people neglect and that leads to a lot of pain. Now, this upcoming exercise is one of my favorites for good reason, because it is probably one of the, if not the most effective stretch for your anterior chain. We are talking, of course, about the couch stretch, bringing our lower leg into complete contact with a wall behind us, into this semi-lunging position. And now our goal from here is just relaxing into this position, and you will have a nice stretch in your hip flexors, your quads and your lower abdominals, while 20 to 30 seconds are more than enough before you release that stretch and then move back into it. You can definitely hold it for a minute or two if you feel like it, because now we're going to make this a more dynamic exercise, pushing our hips forward, lengthening our quads as much as possible and our hip flexors. And once we push back with our hip, upper body fully upright, that stretch is going to move from up here lower and lower, closer to our insertion surrounding our knee, which means that now we can switch the stretch to the top and then move it to the bottom, and just work on this level. Push back and push forward until you are really comfortable, because with the next level this is going to become so much more effective, but also so much harder, because now we're going to do some loaded mobility. Please start out with very low weight, and once again push back fully upright. And now when we push forward, we're going to arch our back even more, move into spinal extension, which is going to open up our chest and shoulders, lengthen our lats and triceps, and now our entire anterior chain, moving from our toes all the way up to our fingertips, is being stretched. Hold for a second or two, push back, release some of that stretch, move it lower to your quads, and then push forward again. We're also strengthening our posterior chain, lengthening strengthening our anterior chain, and this one feels absolutely amazing. And as we said, this one can take care of pretty much your entire anterior chain flexibility needs and then some. Not only is this an amazing exercise to bulletproof your body, but the Jefferson curl is also an amazing posterior chain flexibility exercise that can help you stretch out every single muscle in your posterior chain, starting from your Achilles tendon, moving through your calves, your gastroc, your soleus, your biceps, your glutes, your spinal erectors, your traps and your latissimus, your deltoids and your biceps as well. Basically decompressing those joints, helping you release any sort of tension you have surrounding your back and the backside of your leg musculature. And when reversing the movement, you're strengthening every single muscle I just mentioned and then some. But when it comes to the Jefferson curl, there are two major things we're going to have to differentiate between, with two different schools of thought. One is about rounding your back as much as you can, going down vertebrae by vertebrae and lowering down as slowly as you can until you have a complete stretch in your entire posterior chain. That will totally depend on your own range of motion. So if your movement ends here, that is just as amazing as if your movement was ending here. And when reversing it, we're going to go once again vertebrae by vertebrae, slowly and in a controlled fashion, reverse the movement until we are fully upright once more. With the second variation, forcing your back into spinal extension before you lower and only going as low as you can with your back extended, meaning once it starts to round, that is already too far, which means that you're gonna stay here, hold for a second or two, and then reverse once again with a completely extended back. Now, each one of these has its own benefits, while both of them having a lot of posterior chain flexibility. The one where you round your spine is much more effective at helping you strengthen your spine in this rounded position, especially when reversing the movement, and then in turn is going to help you avoid injuries when you are lifting stuff with a rounded spine, which you should never ever do, but chances are sometimes we fall into this unsafe position, and then it is much better to be able to reverse out of it in a controlled fashion in a safe movement. While the extended one will help you strengthen your spinal erectors so you don't even get into this compromised position. What I would suggest is you do both, because this rounded one will also help you stretch your spinal erectors, which you will not have during the extended lowering. And the extended lowering will help you strengthen your spinal erectors, which you're going to be missing in the rounded version. And very important disclaimer, when you're going to go for the Jefferson curl, I would highly suggest you start with a low weight. You start on the floor and you try out. Go for the rounded one, lower as far as you can without having any pain, and reverse the movement in a controlled manner. Learn how to go through the full movement, and of course try and learn the one with your extended back as well, and reverse. And over time you can start increasing the weight, increasing the elevation, so you have all the necessary space to lengthen your entire posterior chain. 3 exercises you can progress through. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments. 3 to 4 times a week, 10 to 15 minutes is more than enough. And if you like the video, and come on, subscribe. We do stuff like that almost every single day, which means that I'll probably see you very soon. So until then, have a good one. Captain Cairo, peace out.